Could JJ McCarthy fall to the Broncos at pick number 12? NFL draft insider Daniel Jeremiah hopped on a call with a couple of Broncos and NFL beat reporters and outlined a path where this could happen. So I want to break it down on today's show because I don't think any of us woke up today thinking JJ McCarthy would fall out of the top 5 or top 10 given all the recent smoke around him. But this is the NFL draft where you should expect the unexpected. So Parker Gabriel tweeted this out today. He covers the team, I believe, for the Denver Post. And he says, NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah answering an Andrew Mason question says, if the Vikings end up trading for quarterback Drake May, I don't know who the other JJ McCarthy team is. Said Broncos could maybe stick and pick McCarthy at 12. Otherwise, should consider trading down. Now, one letter or two letters in that tweet really jumped out to me. If. Big if on the Patriots trading down with the Vikings and Minnesota going to 3, getting Drake May. The Cardinals at 4 don't need a quarterback. Neither do the Chargers. The Giants have done their homework, but sure. If the Vikings in New England make a swap from 11 to 3, I could see JJ McCarthy tumbling a little bit because there's quite a long gap after pick number 3 to the next QB-needy team, which, by the way, in this trade scenario, would be the Patriots at pick number 11, who I think might take J.J. McCarthy before Denver at 12. Not really sure if that registered with Daniel Jeremiah in this proposed trade. But let's go down this path for a moment, because Peter Schrager recently wrote on some NFL draft rumors he's hearing, and he said, despite lots of smoke that New England could trade down, I believe this new Patriots regime will be comfortable with either Jaden Daniels or Drake May. Pat's brass took May out for steaks the night before his Foxborough visit earlier this month, and those guys loved the Charlotte native. That said, they also loved their top 30 visit with Daniels. I think they're fine with whichever one falls to them. New England also wined and dined QB JJ McCarthy on Monday night, but I still see the selection being Daniels or May. So Peter Schrager, who's really well tapped in, believes New England is staying put at 3, and they're taking whatever sloppy seconds they get from the Commanders. Now, I'm not going to put this tweet up on screen and act like it's a verified report. My Vikings friend here and co-worker, Patrick Seatman, sent me this. Do with it what you will, but Vikings insider, if you will, Rick Sosa said, breaking, I'm told the Vikings do have an agreement with the New England Patriots to trade for the number 3 pick to select Drake May. Now, he's gotten some things right before and has not gotten other things right before. So I'm not sharing this with you guys to say, look, it's a fact. We're going to have a trade, and Denver's going to get JJ at pick number 12. I'm just adding a little bit more color to the picture. Now, when it comes to trade-ups, if the Patriots and the Vikings do strike a deal, history kind of says it would have already happened by now. I mean, when the 49ers and the Dolphins made that 12-3 pick swap, that was on March 26th of the 2021 calendar year. So quite a ways before the NFL draft. Now, when Carson Wentz became a Philadelphia Eagle because the Browns and Philly made a swap from 2 to 8, that happened on April 20th, and today's April 17th. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that a trade could happen between the Vikings and the Patriots. I'm just giving you some context on when these trades happen. Sometimes they happen early in the process. Other times it happens later on, closer to the draft. I personally still believe the top 3 teams are going to stay put. We know the Bears are going to Caleb Williams. We know the Commanders are going with either Jaden Daniels or Drake May, although all the smoke has been around Jaden Daniels to D.C. And then you've got the Patriots at number 3 that, of the top 3, are maybe the most likely to move out, although I still think they are staying put. If you're Gerard Mayo and you are inheriting a team that's got the 3rd overall pick in the draft in a very QB-friendly draft, don't you think you may want to cash in on having the 3rd overall pick when you're not to blame for picking that early? The next time you're picking number 3 again, you may not have your job because things didn't go very well. So I would think Mayo would be inclined to stay at 3 and take a quarterback because he may never get that chance again, right? If he picks 3 again, he may be fired. Now, the Giants at pick number 6 are definitely a candidate to take a quarterback. They have done a lot of research on the quarterbacks. Their owner has given his blessing to Dable and Joe Shane, the head coach and the GM in New York. If they love a quarterback, go take him. And I think the G-men are having major buyer's remorse on Daniel Jones' contract, and they can get out of that contract after 2024, which means taking a developmental QB like either Drake May. I know that might be a surprise, but I think he could benefit from developing and sitting for a season, or JJ McCarthy. That could actually coincide quite nicely for the New York Giants quarterback timeline. But what if JJ McCarthy does fall to 12? I know everything I've said up to this point says on the contrary, where I'd be surprised if he escapes the top 5 based on everything we're hearing, or if the Giants pass on him, or even if the Patriots go from 3 to 11, would they pass on JJ McCarthy at 11 right before Denver? For me, I know it sounds like a great home run selection at 12 based on value alone because of all the mock drafts and everything we've been told. This guy's a top 5 pick. How could you not take him at 12 if he's available? Don't fall to the trap of we have to take JJ McCarthy because all the mock drafts I've read up to this point have him going top 5. So based on just the value, we can't pass on McCarthy. I just want to pump the brakes on that thought. And let me defend my stance. Sure, J.J. McCarthy, 2 years at Michigan, did a whole lot of winning. He only lost 1 game as a starter the last 2 seasons, with the loss coming against TCU in the national championship game. And there are some good things to like about J.J. McCarthy. He ran a pro-style offense. He knows how to command a huddle. He knows how to deliver an NFL play call. He definitely would have a lot of similarities with what Sean Payton looks for in a quarterback. He protects the football. He takes what the defense gives him. He doesn't try to improvise as much as maybe a certain Broncos quarterback did. But for me, when you look a little bit deeper into J.J. McCarthy's stats, I have some concerns. I've got concerns over the small sample size of him going deep. Just 44 attempts last year. I'm not asking him to air it out 50, 60, 70 times. I mean, year after year. But when you don't have a lot of tape to see whether or not he can make the big downfield throws, there are concerns. And then I look at the biggest games that he played in at Michigan. And there's a trend here. He won 4 out of 5 of them. He slayed Ohio State. And those are really important qualities to look for in a quarterback. How does he play when the lights are the brightest? I mean, he's gotten the win, but was it all him? Look closely at these game logs. 12 completions against Ohio State the first time. His best and / worst game was TCU. Sure, 343 yards, but 2 interceptions as well. 16 completions against Ohio State the second go-around. 17 for 27 against Alabama. The guy completed 10 passes for 140 yards to win the national championship because his defense just shut down Michael Penix. So when he's on the grandest stage at Michigan, I'm not going to say he was carried by his defense because he certainly had a big part of those wins as well. But I don't want you guys to just go look at the wins and then find yourself, I don't know, where Denver found themselves when they drafted Tim Tebow. Not all quarterbacks are going to transcend well to the NFL based on their play style. I lean towards the safer option at pick number 12. And I know that's not what you may want to hear, and it's a little bit of a cowardly answer. But for me, when I think about this team, no first-round picks for 2 straight years, a lot of holes on this roster, and a very bad issue at depth across the board. I don't think this is the time to gamble on a pick. I would much rather take a surefire thing where, yes, he may not have as big of an impact as a quarterback could, but if I know that this guy or whatever player you're thinking at pick number 12 that's not J.J. McCarthy is more likely to be a surefire starter for multiple seasons and make a few Pro Bowls, I'll take that guy over rolling the dice on McCarthy and maybe finding yourself down the road still searching for a quarterback and making it 3 straight years without a first-round pick. And if you don't like what I just said, let me ask you this question. Would you like to go back in time and pick Justin Fields over Patrick Surtain? Because that's basically what I'm proposing here. Take the surefire thing, right? Whether that's Brock Bowers, whether that's Terrion Arnold. Just like how Denver took Patrick Surtain, I understand that has not resulted in a ton of wins. But if you had taken Justin Fields, while I still like Fields, I don't think you've won a whole lot more games. And I think you're probably still looking for a quarterback. And you don't have Patrick Surtain anymore. Before we wrap up today's show, I've got a few other thoughts I want to share with you all. But really quickly, give me 60 seconds to tell you guys about our sponsor today, which is Prize Picks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in all of North America, where all you've got to do to play is download the Prize Picks app, use code CLNS, and they're going to give you a $100 deposit match. And all that you have to do afterwards is pick more or less on players' projected stats. So I want to show you guys the season-long stat projections I cooked up for the NFL. I like the more on Kirk Cousins, a little over 4,000 yards. He's quietly done that almost every single season the last half-decade. I also like the less on Jalen Hurts' passing yards, and that kind of coincides with my more on Saquon Barkley. I think the Eagles giving Barkley all that money is a sign of what they want to do offensively, and that likely means taking the ball out of Hurts' hands a little bit more. So make sure to download the Prize Picks app today. You can have a ton of fun, whether it's with baseball or any other sport you like over the summer. Use code CLNS, and you're going to get a deposit match up to $100. I have put all that information for you all in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. So, like I was saying earlier, it may sound crazy to pass on JJ McCarthy at pick number 12 because our brains, they have mostly been formed by what the NFL draft insiders tell us, right? If you think about when you first start to think about where players should go in the draft, you look at the first few mock drafts that come out months ago, and you get a rough idea as to who's a first-round guy, who's a second-round guy. And if you keep seeing the same names in round 1, you kind of get it stuck on your head. That's a round 1 guy, which means if he's available in round 2, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, let's go back in time for a moment. Zach Wilson, when he was coming out of BYU, Dane Brugler from The Athletic had him 3rd on his big board. Mel Kiper had him 9th. Daniel Jeremiah had him 7th, okay? Trey Lance, 7th on Brugler's, 13th on Kiper's. Jeremiah had him 4th. So a lot of times these NFL draft experts, they have a very difficult job. I do not wish to be in a position where you have to be 100% correct to be deemed good at your job because you're not going to have any good NFL draft experts in this situation. But it does go to show that they're not always right. So sure, they may be high on some quarterbacks, but that doesn't always mean they live up to the expectations. Ergo, Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. Now for JJ McCarthy, Brugler and Jeremiah have not dropped their final big board. It should be coming out like any day now. But in the ones they put out in February, Brugler had JJ at 24. Jeremiah had him at 27. And Mel Kiper about a week ago had him at 14. Ask yourself this question. What has changed from early to mid-February to now for JJ McCarthy? We've had the NFL Combine. We've had pre-draft visits. Did we see anything in the NFL Combine that wowed us from JJ McCarthy? I don't think so. I think we saw some good things. I don't think he walked out of Indianapolis as, whoa, that's a guy that just dramatically improved his draft stock by 100%. So I am confident that Brugler and Jeremiah, when their next big boards come out, they're going to have a much lower number in a good way for JJ than 27 and 24. And why is that? I'm sure there's an element of just public peer pressure. Everyone says this guy's a top 5 quarterback in this draft class, top 5 pick. So they're going to feel obligated to try and fit in a little bit more and not be the black sheep. Remember what they thought months ago. What's changed? Did we come out of college football thinking JJ should be the 4th overall pick in the draft? I didn't think so. So I'm not going to be peer pressured into the thought of If JJ's there at 12, you have to take him because every mock draft had him going 4 or 5. You know what? They get it wrong very often in the NFL. Go ask the Jets about that with Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson. Top 3 picks. Trey Lance, 3rd overall. They get it wrong. Just because they have him super high doesn't mean it's a surefire thing. But I am much more confident about these next 5 guys to be surefire things. Brock Bowers, arguably the best tight end prospect we have seen in a long time enter the draft. Terrion Arnold, 5 interceptions last season at Alabama. A complete lockdown man corner. Quinyon Mitchell, one of the best well-rounded DBs in this draft. Put him inside, put him outside, put him at safety. He tackles like a linebacker, but he runs like a DB. Byron Murphy, a true inside defensive tackle pass rusher that can stop the run and generate pressure on the quarterback. And Denver's defensive line needs help. Jared Verse, one of the best well-rounded edge rushers in this draft class who has back-to-back 9-sack seasons at Florida State and can still stop the run. And think about the direction a lot of defenses are going in the NFL. Nickel defense, getting that extra DB on the field, taking a linebacker off. If you take a linebacker off, you are asking your defensive line to be better against the run because there's one less piece of reinforcement standing behind you. Verse can do a good job of stopping the run. So if JJ McCarthy was there at 12, would you take him? JJ will go 0 for other. Just ask yourself, what would this question have been, or your response have been, if I asked you this question in December or January? And if your answer was 0 for other, what's changed since then to make you want to go JJ? Is it because every single NFL draft expert says he's a top 5 pick now? All right, they're very smart. They're smarter than me, but they've been wrong before. And I don't think this is a team with 2 years in a row not having a first rounder that can afford to potentially roll the dice on having a 3rd straight year with basically no first rounder if McCarthy flops. All right, before we get on out of here, one other tidbit that came out from Daniel Jeremiah, which I know everything I've said kind of poo-poos on him. I think Daniel Jeremiah is excellent at his job. Last year, he predicted that the Texans would take C.J. Stroud and then trade up for Will Anderson. They have a very difficult job. So I'm not coming for them here. I'm just trying to remind everyone that what they say is not the gospel. Andrew Mason tweeted out, Daniel Jeremiah says to Parker Gabriel that the Broncos are equipped to handle throwing a rookie QB in on day 1 and setting him up to succeed. You're not going to ruin the quarterback by throwing him out there with what the Broncos have right now, Jeremiah says. I don't disagree with this train of thought. Like, if Denver traded up to get JJ McCarthy or Drake May and forfeited multiple first-round picks, that could be tough for that quarterback because they don't have reinforcements coming in the future and they don't have previous first-round picks to fall back on. But as this roster currently stands offensively, this offensive line is top half in the NFL, in my opinion. Like, Garrett Bowles is a very solid, reliable left tackle. Mike McGlinchey, he may be the worst guy in this offense. Actually, that probably belongs to whoever plays center. McGlinchey had a down season a year ago after getting a big payday, but he's still not a bad right tackle, is he? Ben Powers, Quinn Miners. Quinn Miners is a Pro Bowl caliber player, and Ben Powers is a B to B plus guard. Like, center is a concern for me, whether it's Forsythe, Wattenberg, or Mustafer, but whoever plays center, they're going to have 2 nice guards standing next to them that can probably lend a helping hand from time to time. The wide receiver room, it's a little bit more of a question mark. Can Marvin Mims have that big breakout sophomore campaign? What can you expect from Josh Reynolds? What about Tim Patrick? Like, what is he going to look like? And then, will Courtland Sutton be on this team? If you get 10 more touchdowns from Courtland Sutton in 2024, whoever's playing quarterback is going to have a reliable target to throw to. But amid his holdout from a voluntary workout, which is very early in its infancy stages of building up to a trade, could this actually materialize into a bit of a surprise trade? Running back-wise, I'm very confident in this room. Javonte Williams will be 2 years removed from a knee injury, contract year. It has big season written all over it. Highlight reel Jaleel is just that. And Samaje Perine can pass protect well, and he can catch the football. Tight end position-wise, I don't want to put all my eggs in the Greg Dulcich basket because I've been down that road before and been hurt. No pun intended, unfortunately. But Adam Trotman, he has shown some good flashes. Sure, this is a room that could use a facelift, but I don't think it's a disaster, like unplayable. They've got CFL guys playing in the NFL here. I still think ultimately Jarrett Stidham will end up starting week 1, but to go back to what Jeremiah said, like if it is Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy or Drake May, like with the current pieces they have on offense, I don't think they're going to completely sink. Is there improvements to be made? Yeah, there are, but I don't think it's a god-awful situation. Now, with that being said, predict Denver's week 1 starting quarterback. I asked this question before free agency, so I want to ask it again in case your answer was one of the free agent quarterbacks that unfortunately Denver was unable to sign, and if it changed your opinion on maybe a quarterback in the draft, or if it's Jarrett Stidham or Ben DiNucci. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all later.